Hello, welcome to the fourth tutorial of Nebulous Fleet Command. This time we're going to be learning about sensors in electronic warfare. So we've learned how to move, we've learned how to shoot, we've learned how to respond to the damage we get from getting shot at, and now we're going to learn how to both find enemies and how to not get found by them, I presume. And I noticed that we, in addition to having a radar on one of our ships, we also have a jammer. I believe we used the bullseye radar for our first targeting in tutorial 2. So probably we're mostly going to be using the jammer in this and maybe a little bit more. In any case, let's hop right in. Learn how to find enemy ships and sensor capabilities.
It's critical for you to understand your sensors and the things that affect them, as they act as your eyes in the battle space. After all, you can't shoot what you can't see. But now it's time to learn how they actually work. How to evade detection while spotting the enemy, and how to fool your opponent is absolutely paramount to a successful engagement. Let's begin.
Alright, let's see that we have 2 targets. Drag.
Select the ANS Small Beginnings.
I already have.
We're ready when you are, Commander.
The first thing we'll talk about is your signature size and methods of signature control.
Okay. And actually I had noticed this previously. So actually this is really nice to see. We have full sensor coverage and our signature size is 15% larger because we have another ship nearby.
Active sensors like radar detect enemy ships by bouncing radio waves off of them. The physical size of your ship, combined with the angle of surface and the cross-sectional area from the viewing angle, affect the size of the returned energy.
So, being side-on as opposed to nose-on makes you more visible, as does just being larger.
In other words, the same ship will appear on sensors at a longer range if its broadside is facing the enemy versus being bow-on.
Which is what I
The
just
smallest
said.
radar cross-section for the Rains frigate, for example, is from above and below the port and starboard stern.
So above and below the port and starboard stern. So left and right stern and above and below that. Let's take a look at this real quick. So, so above and below. So like that. And like that, apparently. I don't know, I think nose-on seems pretty small too.
You can see the size of your signature by hovering over the signature summary on the ship information bar.
Yeah, okay.
There are other contributing factors to the size of your signature, including what modules are active and how many ships are nearby.
Okay.
Right now there is another ship nearby, which is boosting the size of the radar return and making it so the enemy can see us at a longer range.
I'm guessing that this is how far away they can see us from, so 4.3 kilometers.
Let's lower our footprint. Move the Small Beginnings more than 250 meters away from the Dusty Tome, so you won't contribute to each other's signatures. Don't move towards the enemy. We want to keep our current range.
We're underway, Commander.
If you hover over the signature summary with your mouse, you will see the nearby ships modifier is gone, reducing our overall footprint.
So. Alright.
It's good, but we'll need to do better if we want to hide ourselves from the enemy.
So they can see us at 3.7 and we're still just within that.
On the ship list, the yellow icon indicates that the ship is spotted by the enemy sensors and is being tracked.
Okay.
Similarly, a red crosshair here would show that the ship is locked by the enemy's fire control radar.
Alright.
We have a good set of tools to reduce our radar footprint even further. Let's see what we can do to shake the enemy off. This switch will toggle our radar systems off, greatly reducing our footprint.
Okay, let's try reduced. Oh, full 25% reduction.
This switch disables our communication suites, which can provide a modest reduction in our signature size. Go ahead and turn off both of these now, and see how it affects our signature size.
It got really tiny.
You may be surprised to see that even with your radars off, you are still seeing tracks. This is because the ANS Dusty Tome still has the radars and comms on, and is transmitting tracks to the small beginnings, sharing their own data.
Okay, so this is actually just receiving. It's not transmitting any of its own technical data. Can I turn them off? No, I can't. Okay.
Hover over Signature Summary with your mouse to see how changing these emission settings altered your signature.
Yep, I've already done that.
If you didn't move too close to the enemy, you'll notice that the yellow icon indicating the ship is being tracked has disappeared. If you are still being tracked, it might be because your hull is at an angle that maximizes radar reflections.
Yeah. So let's try move. Hold heading. Let's hold heading.
Understood.
I could have also probably just moved away. Moving away is probably the better decision, actually. Yeah. Okay. Let's try moving away. Just like
Understood.
there.
We're en route.
Which is probably what they were expecting me to do. I was just trying to sidestep. But moving away also works.
Even then, a lower signature size reduces the distance at which the enemy can detect you, even if you are well inside their maximum sensor range.
We're underway.
Disabling emissions also has the added benefit of making you undetectable by passive sensors. Passive radar sensing is typically able to detect you 125% further away from your maximum radar range, so being invisible to it has an obvious benefit. The downside, of course, is that turning off your radars means you can't detect threats as easily.
Yeah.
Similarly, disabling comms means that the ship is no longer transmitting any tracks it sees to friendly ships in the fleet. Ships with their comms off will still be able to receive tracks from other transmitting ships, so they can act as a silent shooter. Go ahead and re-enable both the radar and the communications on the small beginnings.
I never saw this go away. I'm not certain if it's a problem.
We're on our way.
Now it's time to experience what having your sensors jammed feels like.
Understood.
Alright,
We're
might
en
as well.
route. Understood. We're en route. You work.
Confusing, right?
Yes, very unpleasant, in fact.
The enemy jammer is saturating our radar with radio waves, making it difficult for our systems to find legitimate
see
contacts.
that.
This noise of contacts is what we are seeing, instead of the real radar
I
picture.
see. Yeah, I see that right there. I see. There's that one, and I suspect that there's another one out here.
Notice that we lost track of the ship in front of us,
Yeah.
but the one on the right is still clear as day. This is because jamming only affects the area around the direction that is being jammed. Keep this in mind when you're trying to use jamming to protect your own ships.
Okay.
We do have a tool available that can be used in a pinch, the burn-through sweep. Not all radar modules have this, but it allows for a short, high-powered sweep in all directions.
Alright. Can we do that?
To execute the burn-through sweep, open the action menu and select the BRN or burn-through command on the top. Then, as quickly as you can, attempt to lock the target. You can use the X key for the lock-on shortcut.
Affirmative. Negative, Commander.
Burn-through sweeps will show a unique icon for detected targets, making it easier to spot the target through the noise. The icon will linger for about 30 seconds to give you time to lock on. Locked targets are much less susceptible to being lost through jamming.
Alright. And how long? Okay.
That's
Sensors
it.
are jammed.
Most of the time you'll be able to maintain a fire control lock in spite of jamming. But keep in mind that jamming power stacks, so a fleet with enough jammers active at the same time will break any lock.
I actually recall in one of the videos that I watched that this had a change made to it, where jammers are not stacking as much as they used to. So this might need to be changed if that still holds true. But it's a minor thing. More jammers being more effective is still good to know.
Because burn-through sweeps use a much higher power output, they also have the added benefit of being able to spot smaller, weaker contacts at a greater range. This is useful for finding small scout ships or approaching missiles.
This leads me to have a question of, does using burn-through briefly boost the sensor detection of the ship that is using it? Because that seems like it would
Awaiting
be
orders, Commander.
worth keeping in mind.
The downside is that the higher power output runs the risk of causing damage to the amplifiers every time you use it, so be careful not to burn out your radars.
So it does damage your radar, however. Okay.
Your other option for burning through jamming is simply to get closer to the enemy, brute forcing your way in. Just try not to get sunk in the process.
Alright.
Jamming the enemy ourselves can be as easy as right-clicking their track and selecting our jammers with the EW weapons menu. However, these targets are far enough apart that they won't both be covered by the cone centered on only one of them.
Okay.
The ANS Dusty Tome is carrying a blanket radar jammer. We'll use that to jam both targets by catching them both in the jammer's cone of effect by targeting a position between both contacts.
Alright.
You can target a weapon on a position in space by opening the action menu by right-clicking in open space instead of on a track, and use the sphere widget to target a position between the two contacts. Remember to use the tactical view, as it will give you precise bearings for positional targeting.
So we probably want, like right here?
When in the tactical view, you'll see each track's position projected onto the sphere of the widget. To blind both of them, aim for a point between those two projected positions.
Yeah, so we got that position, so we probably want about right there.
Remember that you can change the radius of the widget by holding left control and drawing the radius in or out.
And that was a delay while my ship rolled. Yeah, my ship had to roll because my blanket jammer, where is it? Blanket jammer is on the bottom. Yeah. So there's my blanket jammer right there, and it needed to roll to be able to see the spot between the two ships. Alright.
And like that, they can't see us anymore, just like what happened to us. But they can also use the same tactics like burn-throughs or approaching us to sift through the jamming.
Alright.
While jamming power is additive, it is not linear. The more jamming signals that are present in an area, the more they begin to create destructive interference and cancel each other out. Think of it like diminishing returns.
Okay, so this is what I was saying before about how multiple jammers gradually reduce effectiveness. So like 2 jammers is not 200% effectiveness. It's like, let's say 180% or whatever.
Even if you don't successfully jam the enemy's tracking of your ships, an active jamming signal will still reduce their sensor accuracy. This is particularly devastating for point defenses, which are shooting at very small, very fast targets and therefore require great accuracy.
So jammers are really great in engaging ships with missiles.
Using standoff jamming in coordination with your missile salvos will make them devastatingly effective. Let's try it.
Alright, that's literally what I just said.
Fire off the missile salvo at the enemy ship ahead, and see how their defenses react with your jammer active.
Alright, so let's, wait, why? Why did you stop? Well, I can do that anyway.
Jamming.
Oh, did it run out of time? Maybe it ran out of time. That's unfortunate. I didn't realize it had a time. So I need to wait for this to cycle. That's a little unfortunate. Cycling, cycling, cycling. And there it goes. Okay. Then we go, let's go hurricanes.
Launch confirmed.
Watch how erratically the enemy defenses are firing. Point defense requires pinpoint precision, which your jamming is preventing by flooding their sensors with far too many false contacts.
Let's take a look. So they got 1, 2, they got 3, they got 4. Did my jamming stop? No, my jamming did not stop. So apparently I just stuffed that. Let's try.
Launch 2 clear. Awaiting orders, Commander. Copy that.
When
Deploying
using
missile.
jamming to cover a missile attack, you'll still need to watch out for airburst point defenses like flak guns, as they don't require much accuracy.
Okay, so I was shooting at the wrong one is what happened. Okay.
Standing by.
Most
the
importantly,
blanket
the blanket
jammer
jammer has a
has a cooldown
90-second firing time. This is to prevent the amplifiers from overheating and being damaged.
Oh no. 2 got through with both blanket jamming and without.
However, there are times where you absolutely have to be able to use the system, or you'll lose the ship. In that case, you might not care whether the module destroys itself. This is what Battle Short is for. Select the ANS Dusty Tome if it isn't already.
Alright.
This is the toggle for the Battle Short mode. When this is on, all equipment safeties are disabled, and the equipment will continue to run until it destroys itself.
Alright.
Reserve it for emergency use, or you'll hear an endless litany of profanity from the damage control officer.
Alright.
When Battle Short is enabled, active components with active duration timers will periodically be damaged. However, they will only begin taking damage when they exceed their normal firing time.
Okay.
One last thing to note is that most electronic warfare modules are single-cycle systems. That means they won't repeatedly fire on the same target after their cooldown period, and you'll need to designate a new target every time the system comes off cooldown.
That's annoying, but okay.
Jamming is an extremely powerful tactic when used at the right time. Use it to cover your retreat, confuse enemy fire, cover your missiles, and anything else you can think of.
Alright.
With that out of the way, that should do it for Sensors and E-War. I hope I made it easy to follow, because the guidebooks on these are nightmarish. I'll see you back at the Academy.
Alright, well, that was interesting. I had actually noticed that the blanket jammers had a cooldown time. Apparently the one that I hit, apparently I also did some damage to this other one. Did a lot of damage to the one that I actually hit, I believe 4 times. I really like this battle readout screen. But this is definitely something that I think needs to be covered and probably played 2 or 3 times just to absorb all the material. That said, I think that it was pretty well conveyed, and I found it fairly intuitive. It would have been nice if, when they told me to fire at a ship instead of the ship in front of you, because from my perspective, both ships were in front of me, they gave me the track number. But again, that's a minor thing. Other than that, just having a great time learning how to play this game, and see you at the next tutorial. Bye.